Good morning. We are coming to you live from the Conference of African American Finance Professionals 2024. This is the inaugural taping of UnDEBTfeated for Season 2. I am the creator and host, Bree Franklin, and I'm joined by an incredibly well-known and special guest, Dee-1, who is an award-acclaimed recording artist and also overcomer of being previously overwhelmed with student loan debt. So we're going to get into a wonderful conversation about that today. So thank you for being my guest.
I appreciate you, Bree.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes. It was a very easy on our part, just to reach out to you, like being loosely familiar with your story. I actually was also invisibly shackled to Sallie Mae for a good number of years. And when I did pay off some of those loans, I saw the gift from your video, Sallie Mae Back. So if you would just share a little bit about that story, that lived experience that preceded you being able to sing that victory song.
Of course. So it just started out with a desire to go to college and be a young man from New Orleans, Louisiana, who could use education as a pathway out of poverty, out of being stuck in life in a space where I just wasn't optimizing my gifts and my talents, and I knew that college was the path for me. So going to college provided me with an interesting dilemma because I didn't have a full scholarship. Ironically, I had a full scholarship to different schools out of state. I'm from Louisiana, and different schools out of state were offering me a full scholarship. I ended up going to LSU, which is in my state. It's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right? I had to take out student loans to go there. Why did I choose to go to a school where I was taking out loans as opposed to a school where I had a full scholarship? Two primary reasons. One, my girlfriend at the time, right? We had been together since 10th grade. We went to high school together. And she wasn't able to get into these out-of-state schools that I was getting full offers from. So she got into LSU. So I was like, all right, I guess LSU is looking a lot more attractive now because that's where she's going. So that was one reason. The second reason, though, was because I got diagnosed with a really rare condition in high school. It's called achalasia, right? It's a health condition. It's a disorder. And it affects my esophagus, my ability to swallow and keep down food and liquids.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had a massive surgery when I was in high school for this. Because of what that did to me physically and kind of, some of my paranoia after that, I didn't want to be too far away from New Orleans, where I'm from, in case that flared up again, right? So LSU was an hour away from New Orleans. So I was like, that way I can get away from home and have the experience not being in my city anymore, but not being too far in case things went bad, So that's why I went there, and I knew upon going there that I would be taking out some loans.
So you already factored it in. You had talked about it with family. It didn't catch y'all by surprise?
No, it wasn't anything that caught me by surprise.
That's
good. I already knew that, but there was a point where I started to go overboard and do things that my family necessarily wasn't aware of when it came to loans. You know what I mean? So I definitely reached that point too, because one thing I did, and I don't recommend this for other people, is partially I started taking loans out to fund personal ventures that I had. You feel me? Not necessarily school expenses.
For the tuition.
There you
right.
go. Right. And my family, they didn't know about that stuff.
Oh, no. You went rogue on them?
Yeah. So,
oh, boy.
yeah.
See, and I'm glad that you're able to at least be open about that and vulnerable, because some people, there's so much shame attached with being in debt, right? I mean, you obviously are as much a man of God as it gets, and you know that it's, very much this conundrum of borrower quite literally a slave to the lender, and that you reduce your options and your freedom when you are on the hook to owe somebody. And as a young person, wandering into that, it's too easy. My lived experience, what prompted me to create shows like UnDEBTfeated and just the ventures that I work on is, being debt constrained to a T, coming out of school, not first in college, but first in Ivy. And in my case, the first person to take out 6 figures of student loans. And because that was a new thing, my family just was like, well, I guess in 2013, that's just what it is. But we took out our loans and we're fine. So it'll be okay. You're going to a top tier school, so you should get hired no problem by a top tier company. And there were a lot of shoulds and assumptions and things that I just took at face value and didn't think or know to question. But then it was like, oh, wait, I owe more money than the law really should allow for a young person. And then it just set that dangerous trap, and it was so elusive. And to your point, too, I also caught on somehow kind of way the financial aid office had overcharged. So then they credited me back like $1,500 randomly. Instead of putting that toward the tuition bill, I was like, oh, we're going to TGI Fridays, like the 15-person party I'm with, like it's on me,
Wow.
like literally just bawling and just having no appreciation for having discipline and knowing that that money was better suited keeping myself out of debt. So was there a moment where anything particularly like blew up in your face or really signaled to you what you had gotten yourself into, and I guess set you on course to make that a priority?
So after I graduated, that first 6 months, I'm trying to recall back now, this timeline. That first 6 months after graduation, because this was before COVID and everything. You know, now people who've graduated during COVID, like there's like a super long grace period that people are experiencing
Years.
when it comes to when they have to pay their loans. It was 6 months for me. So those first 6 months were easy breezy. It was just like, that's not even on my mind. What was on my mind was gaining employment. So I became a middle school teacher upon graduating college. And once I started that, and I started the process of receiving paychecks every 2 weeks, and this income was something that I was allocating towards my living expenses. I was dealing with the peer pressure of some of my friends fresh out of college with their first job. They're like, oh, I'm gifting myself a new car. You know, I deserve this. Like, fresh out of college, just seeing people living in certain types of apartments that are pretty, you know, upscale apartments fresh out of college. And my teaching salary was $39,000 a year when I first started out. $39,000 a year. So that was not in my deck of cards.
How much was your loan total?
So I've never told anybody my loan total, because like I really want people to not feel a sense of shame about how much their loans are, and feeling like, oh, well, my loans were more than D1's, or my loans are less than D1's, so I feel like I'm not worthy to like embrace my story. You know what I mean? Like, I had 5 figures in loans though, and I knew that this was gonna be something where when I started paying them back, I was like, minimum payments every month.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's gonna be. Making these minimum payments, I realized quickly I'm not even making a dent on these loans,
Right.
because the interest rate is factoring in, and it's not something where I can see it on the horizon. I think it was gonna be about like 10 years if I'd have made those minimum payments, you know, every month for 10 years. There was some months. Keep in mind, my salary $39,000. That's before taxes.
That's before they take your cut out for
That's
Uncle
before
Sam.
taxes. So
right.
when they take those taxes out of $39,000, oh my gosh! Like, I was literally living off the dollar menu at McDonald's many nights for dinner. Sometimes it was like, because I'm also an aspiring rapper at the time. So I'm teaching by day. I'm looking around town for open mic nights, what clubs or what venues are having open mic nights to where I can get on stage and showcase my talent at night. I'm driving my 1998 Honda Accord, you know, which had upwards of 300,000 miles on it at the time. And so sometimes it was literally, do I put some gas in the tank, or do I eat dinner tonight?
Yeah.
You know, so the last thing on my mind some months was paying that student loan bill.
Exactly.
Right? That was the last thing on my mind. It got to a point where after 2 years of teaching and 2 years of sometimes paying on my loans, sometimes not paying on them, I went through a life crossroads. I was at a fork in the road of, do I even want to continue teaching, right? I'm seeing purpose and I'm seeing impact being made by me as Mr. Augustine in the classroom, but I'm knowing that my real passion at that point in life, Bree, was being a rapper and getting on those stages, because I still felt like a teacher on those stages, but I just had more freedom of how I would express and convey my message when I'm on these stages, right? So the problem was, if I was making a meager $39,000 a year as a teacher, it wasn't something to where, as a rapper, I was gonna be making that equivalent amount. I was making $0 as
You were all
D1.
in.
So now when I think about these expenses, apartment, I didn't have a car note, but apartment, student loans, food, gas, and anything else that I had at the time, it was really taking a chance on myself to jump into a realm where I'm not making any money. So I definitely planned out this transition, and I started to save as much as I could, even on that small salary. I saved as much as I could so I had some cushion, right? And when I got to the point to where I stopped teaching to become a full-time artist, I was living off of my savings for a while, but I was also actively figuring out how to monetize this popularity that I was receiving. In the rap game, it's easy to get popular, but it's hard to get paid.
Yes.
And that is something to where a lot of artists don't ever make that jump for gaining the popularity to learning how to monetize it. Instantly, I was like, okay, I need to have merch. I need to have, instead of just free mixtapes, I need to have an actual album that I can sell.
Right.
You know, I need to not be afraid and not have too much pride to go to concerts. And even if I'm not performing, I remember Drake came to town, right? Drake came to Baton Rouge.
Like in his early days?
Yeah, in his early days.
Started?
There you go. In his early days, the concert was packed out. And I was like, this is where everybody's going to be tonight.
Correct.
So I need to set up outside the concert with a table with my CDs and with my merchandise so that when people are walking out, I can essentially try to grab some of the foot traffic when people are leaving, and I could maybe make some money, right? I made like $45 that night. That's not much.
I thought you were going to say $45,000.
No,
I'm like, okay,
I made
go
like
ahead.
$45. But I also made a lasting impression on so many fans who were there that night, to where today, over a decade later, people still say, man, I remember you were the dude outside the Drake concert.
No way.
With your CDs and telling people how you were going to make it one day. And most people walked past you. Some people laughed at you.
Yeah.
A very small amount of people patronized your product and bought your album. But more than any of that, we all remember that. So now that they see the level that I'm at, they're like, no, this dude earned it. Like, he didn't have it given to him. So I went through a few years of that rough period. So, of course, during those years, it wasn't something to where I was prioritizing paying my student loans. I just tell you the truth. After that rough period, and this is a metaphor for life, usually after the most stormy weather comes the sunshine.
Yes,
you
it
know.
does.
So after that stormy period of just trying to figure out stability for myself, I actually was offered a few record deals, right? One was by Cash Money Records, which is from my city, New Orleans.
Yes.
And they have legendary artists like Lil Wayne.
Manny Fresh,
like,
right?
Yeah, Manny Fresh. They had Juvenile, the Hot Boys, the Big Timers. You had Nicki Minaj, Drake. Like, all these people were over there. But I turned that deal down because that wasn't the right fit or situation for me. But then I got a deal from RCA Records, which is one of the 4 biggest record labels in the world. They have like Chris Brown, they have like A$AP Rocky, they have just a ton of people, Lotto, like buku people. When they offered me a deal and I ended up signing it, all of a sudden I got this signing bonus. They call it an advance. Biggest check I had ever seen in my life, right? When I got this check, I was like, yo, I've never seen this type of money. I've never made this type of money even in a whole year. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like this
and it hit you all at once.
Yeah, all at once. So I got this. And instantly, the first thing, for whatever reason, the first thing that popped into my mind was pay all of those loans off, D. Just get them out the way.
Yes.
And before I said I need to buy a new car, before I said I need to buy a bunch of jewelry, because before doing rap stuff, with my money, before any of that, it was like, get these loans out the way.
Yes.
So I remember making that decision. I was like, wow, this is going to feel good, but it's also going to eat so deeply into, what I just received. Right.
That I worked so hard to get my hands on.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when I did that and I paid the loans off, I can't tell you how exhilarating of a feeling it was when I received the email, when I got the final notice that I was debt free, right? I paid all my loans off.
Yes.
It felt so great that as a rapper, as an artist, I wanted to do what I always do to document a special moment. I wanted to make a song about that moment, right? So I was like, man, this is going to be amazing. So I made this song, and I was going on tour at the time, right? I was going on tour with my guy, PJ Morton. when I was going on tour with PJ, the song wasn't fully finished, but I had written it, and it was more or less just a song I would perform every night as like an a cappella, right? I didn't even have a beat to it yet, but I had written the lyrics. Whenever I would perform this song, I got such an amazing response from the crowd every night in every city, and they were so happy
That's
for
your
me
proof
that
of
I
concept
paid.
right there.
Exactly, they were
Yeah.
so happy that I paid my loans off, and I was like, this isn't even a song yet. As soon as I get off tour, I gotta go in the studio, get a beat made to this song,
Yeah.
and put this out, right? So that's exactly what I did, and then I flew to New York. I presented it to the record label. I was like, guys, I have a hit song. So many people are going to relate to this song. I see how they responded every night on tour.
Yeah.
And it's about a concept that so many millions of Americans can relate to, which is becoming student debt free,
Yes.
right? So I played the song, and I never forget, you could hear a pin drop in that room because they were just sitting there, and they were just scratching the back of their necks. And they were like, a song about student loans?
They were like,
and
not really seeing the vision
yeah,
here. Yeah.
and I was waiting for like the round of applause. I was waiting for the smiles. I didn't get any of that. It felt so awkward.
Yikes.
And I was like, what do y'all think? And they were just like, nah, this ain't it. Like, we not really feeling this. And
they rejected it? Like to
Yeah.
put on the album?
yeah, so
Wow.
they rejected. I had a whole EP at the time that I presented to them. And after I played that song first, they were like, nah, we don't even need to hear the rest of the songs on the EP.
Oh, no.
Literally. So I flew back to New Orleans, heartbroken.
Of course.
Heartbroken, because I believed in the song so much.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where I made a decision that changed the course of the rest of my life. I decided that I was going to still put the song out. I wasn't going to breach my contract. So when you signed, they have the exclusive rights to all of your music to be able to monetize it. So if I put it on Apple Music or Spotify or iTunes, the record label would have to sign off on that because they would get the bulk of that money.
Exactly.
Because that advance that I got when I signed my deal, that's really a loan. That's another loan.
No way.
Oh, yeah, that's a loan.
Really? So
Yes.
you're obligated to repay them that advance?
Yes. So I'm not
Wow.
obligated to repay them from my personal bank account, but the proceeds from my music that come in, the royalties,
Oh.
it all goes to them.
I
It
got
all-
you.
until they recoup, right?
Wow.
So I knew that since they didn't like the song, I couldn't put it out and monetize it. But there was this loophole to where I could still put the song out for promo use only, right? And not make a dime off of it. So that loophole was putting it on YouTube, right?
I was about to ask, like,
Yep.
not a streaming service,
There you go,
but
not
on
a
YouTube.
streaming service,
Yeah.
put it on YouTube. And so I decided to go to Dillard University in my city, to the financial aid department. I was friends with the president at Dillard University. I went to LSU, where I graduated from, outside of legendary Tiger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a frat house in New Orleans as well, right? Just things that really would give people the college aesthetic: a financial aid office,
There you go.
a football stadium,
Yeah.
and a frat house. And
Of course.
yeah. And we filmed a music video for my song, Sallie Mae Back. We filmed this video, we edited it, and we were like, we have something special in our hands. You know, we were feeling really good. My man Colin Pierce out of California, he flew to New Orleans. He shot the video with me. And when we put the video out, I knew that the record label wasn't going to help push it.
Right.
But I also knew that I was doing a good deed, because whether or not the song blew up, it was a narrative that people needed to hear.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't do something in life simply because of what you want to receive from it. You do it because of what other people are going to gain from this being out there, right? And I just wanted to give people a celebratory anthem to know that, like, hey, one of us made it, and I'm on the other side of having paid my loans off.
Yes.
And it feels good. It feels good, so keep going. If you're struggling right now, just know, like, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, there is.
So I put that video out, and the rest is really history. It changed my life because the song went so viral within 1 week.
Really?
I was in the middle of re-recording my entire album because I told you the label didn't like it when I went up there. So I had to come back down south, and I was starting from scratch. So I remember being in the studio. Matter of fact, I was in Atlanta at the time, in a studio in Atlanta, and I'm in the booth recording. Meanwhile, I'm getting calls from like the Wendy Williams show.
No
I'm
way.
getting calls from The Real, the
Okay.
daytime talk show, and they're like, hey, this song about these student loans is amazing. We want to book you on our show. We want to interview you.
Everybody wanted a piece of Sallie Mae Back.
Literally.
Yeah.
CNN, they were like, hey, we'd love to fly you out to Atlanta
Wow.
and talk about this song. I was like, I'm already in Atlanta. I'm down the street.
Like, I will pull up.
Yeah. So I pulled up to CNN, did an interview on about Sallie Mae Back, ESPN. I went up to Bristol, Connecticut. I'm on a sports platform talking about student loan debt. You know, it was
Gotta love it.
so amazing, and this was all organic. So as this is happening, I ended up deciding to go on The Real. So I went on The Real. I think that was my first daytime mainstream television appearance. You know, I got to perform the song on The Real. They had fake money like flying down from the
Oh my
ceiling during my
gosh.
performance.
Gotta have a visual effect.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was so amazing. And they flew me out to Los Angeles for that. So all of this happens, and the record label, their pride would not allow them to say, D, you were right and we were wrong. We missed it on this one. You know what? Let's seize the moment now, and let's actually get behind the song
Right.
and push
Capitalize on that momentum.
it.
None of that.
They
Wow.
still didn't want to. And I remember I had my guy at the time. He was serving as my entertainment lawyer, and I told him, I was like, could you like email the label or call the label and just get their take on everything that's happening? I know they see it, and just, do they want to come and be a part of this moment? Do they want to help propel this even further? And he was like, man, it's sad, but they still saying that they don't want to get behind the song. They don't want to push it. So I went to New York. I did a radio interview with DJ Envy from the Breakfast Club, right? He had a solo show on Sirius XM at the time. And I'm not going to lie, Bree, some of my frustrations bled out during that interview.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Because you
but-
feel like you're being worked against by the people put in place to help advance your career.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I did that interview. I was really frustrated, and I made comments. I know how to control my tongue, but I made some comments that let it be known that I have a song that's going super viral right now, that is being recognized and appreciated by so many media outlets and fans. But my own label, like, it's horrible that they still won't help push this, right? So the next day, because I was in New York, we had a meeting set up at the label in person. And when I went to the label, the guy who was running the label at the time came out and met me in the hallway before we even got into the conference room, and we got into a shouting match.
Oh my goodness.
In the hallway. He didn't like how I talked about them on the radio show, so he took offense to that, and he came out. We got into a whole shouting match. Luckily, one of my friends was there to intervene, and my friend is bigger than both of us, so he was able to, like, you know, be like, yeah, it's like if two people are in a boxing match, but the referee is bigger than both of the fighters,
Right,
and he was like,
okay.
hey, y'all about to chill, you know what I mean? So that happened the next day at the label, and you know, at that point, that's when I started to get clarity internally that I also didn't want to be signed anymore.
And
I
go
didn't
independent.
didn't want to be signed. Because I was showing myself. I was like, I'm achieving the biggest success of my career in real time with zero support from the label, right? And I proved to myself that I didn't need a label in order to do this. All I needed was confidence in my skill set.
There you
I
go.
needed music that was authentic based on my lived experiences, and I needed to just form and maintain healthy relationships, right, with people, with media outlets, and with the fans. So I didn't want to be signed anymore. So as all of this is happening, I'm trying to go through the timeline. As all of this is happening, I do the meeting at the label. We almost get into a fight. I start to realize that this song is becoming like a phenomenon that's like an anthem. The Washington Post called it
Absolutely
the
it is.
anthem of a generation, right?
It is.
And when the Washington Post called it that and wrote an article on it, that let me know that hip-hop needed to have this conversation about financial literacy a long time ago, because all we talk about in rapping is get money.
It's the flash of
Yes.
it and what you can spend it on. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like, finally we're talking about ways to be responsible by paying off student loan debt or paying off other debts, or just budgeting and saving and separating your wants from your needs, you know, when it comes to music. So I started to see that And I started to feel really grateful that I've been chosen by God in this moment to just be a representative of a financial revolution
Yeah.
inside of hip hop.
That's exactly what I would describe you as, because I think a lot of people, just again going back to how traumatizing the experience can be. Some people, I mean, when you live through trauma, some people want to act like it never happened or they downplay it, and you stare the beast right in the face and you are like, not only am I going to acknowledge this and speak and rap from my lived experience, but do it in a way that empowers other people. And especially like, because student debt is a special type of evil as far as I'm concerned, because it's not a discipline issue, it's a deception issue, right? Young people are being promised the moon and the stars, and there's this hidden underside of it, right? Especially with private lenders. Federal, you usually are able to work things out. They have very gracious repayment terms, and just it's influenced by what comes out of DC. Private companies are just that. They literally exist to make money off of you being indebted to them. And so for you to be able to have that powerhouse hit, and it's just like, I'm reclaiming this story. It's not going to bury me. Like, you are the epitome of UnDEBTfeated,
Wow,
right?
that means a lot to me. That really does, because I just want to be, as a rapper. The goal was I'm leaving these kids in the classroom that I teach as a middle school teacher, and I love them. I love them so much. So as a rapper, I need to make sure that I don't compromise what I stand for. You saw me perform last night, and my
Yeah, you
motto is
killed
be
it.
real, be righteous,
Just-
be relevant,
that's right.
So I never wanted to compromise on those 3 R's, but also I wanted to use this platform to show what edutainment looks like for my generation. Education and entertainment
yes.
infused into one.
Quality edutainment, not like some of the bogus stuff we see on TikTok and wherever else.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Because that is more recent. Keep in mind, Sallie Mae Back came out in 2016, right? All of a sudden, anything that's successful, you're going to get a lot of people to try to emulate to a certain degree.
For sure.
And I do think that we have seen with TikTok, with the advent of TikTok, with Instagram becoming more and more popular, we've seen so many people who just want to try to go viral intentionally. So you see these corny,
formulaic,
songs or jingles that people do. Like, none of this was planned. This was me wanting to use my creativity as a rapper to talk about my lived experience, getting out of student loan debt, and wanting it to have the cool factor, mixed in and woven into it. And in doing that, I wasn't attached to the results. I was confident about the product, but I wasn't attached to the results, because some people, they feel like if this doesn't blow up, that means that I failed. And it's like, no, that's not true. As long as we are being authentic and able to tell our stories in life, I think that storytelling is important. Your story is your glory.
Yes, that's exactly
And
right.
we all have a story. So I told part of my story in a 3-minute song called Sallie Mae Back, and it has changed the lives of millions. And I encourage everyone to think about their story and understand that you are the author of your story. So even if you didn't like the last chapter or the last 3 chapters, you're the author of the next chapter.
You are so right about that. It doesn't have, I mean, I say all the time, it may have started with them being conspiring forces, the school, the lender. Maybe you came from, an under-resourced family, right? Like, it started with people beyond yourself, but it ends with you. It ultimately does have to end with the person. And that's not to say that, good luck fending for yourself, but take charge. Like, don't let it overtake you, run your life. I certainly not identify you, because I think a lot of people, they really see themselves as that number. And I think, and I totally appreciate and respect why you don't name drop it specifically, because that tends to be how people reduce themselves. And they're just like, well, I'm $75,000 that I will never be able to pay off. I'm $150,000 that will follow me to the grave. And I mean, I've studied it and I've seen how extreme it can get. I mean, we look at the correlation between homelessness, poverty, women's infertility, inability to, expand their families comfortably, because they're like, yeah, I'd love more children, but I already am struggling to feed these 2 because I owe $750 a month. And so just all the different ways that this plays out for people, I really appreciate that you put something meaningful, like you talked about last night. A lot of people like to just talk and sing and use their talent to talk about whatever. You promote things that certainly are of the kingdom, things that are of value and that really can help enhance and empower others. And I know we're coming up on time. I mean, we really could do an extended cut like on this conversation because I'm so curious to hear way more about your story. But yeah, I mean, I also want to say you hit all my questions and key points seamlessly. Like usually I
Wow.
have to prompt people and get especially them to connect dots. I was going to, ask you to get into the label side of things and connecting the dots with entertainment, and it was already rolling off the tongue. So I appreciate how well you transitioned into that. And I feel like you already sort of did this, but with UnDEBTfeated, we love to have just a quick snippet for advice and action for people watching, because the precursor work that I led through a Prosperity Project and nonprofit, people write in still all the time and they're like, what do I do? I feel like this is going to be the death of me, and like I stand no chance. Like I've tried getting out of it legally, I've tried to get lawyers, I've tried to refinance, and people just feel like their back is perpetually against the wall. So, what do you want to leave our listeners with today?
Right. So when it comes to uh, depending on where you are in your financial journey, the first thing I would say is if you're going into college and you're thinking about taking out loans, a rule of thumb that I would use is don't take out more in loans than what you expect your starting salary to be for your career. So if you're going to be a teacher like me, let's say your starting salary was going to be $50,000, it wouldn't make sense to go to a university and take out $200,000 in loans.
Mm-mm.
That just that math is not mathing at all, at all, at all. So that's something that can help you kind of wrap your brain around. Okay, are loans bad altogether? If you have to take out loans, there's ways to be smart about it. So that's
very
one
true.
thing. Another thing is to separate your wants from your needs when it comes to repayment of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Your wants and the peer pressure that comes along with influencing your wants, that is something that you have to be able to put that on the back seat to what your needs are. And there's a lot of needs that get put on the back burner because people are prioritizing their wants. They are letting their emotions dictate their spending habits.
Right
And that's
on.
something, that's something that we need to absolutely do better at. And the third thing, because I like things in threes, so the third thing is it's not taboo to talk about your financial story. So your financial past, the decisions you've made, debt that you may be in. The worst thing you can do is feel like you are buried under this mountain by yourself
Mm-hmm.
and not wanting to talk about it with either a professional or with peers or with other people who can just help offer perspective and offer advice, because it's certainly something that brings about a lot of shame, leads to depression, definitely leads to anxiety when people think about their financial health overall. But trust and believe that not only are there professionals, but there are people who, just like in the black community specifically,
Mm-hmm.
speaking about mental health is something that was taboo probably for our parents' generation, but it's become way more normal now. I would say the same thing about speaking about our financial health. It needs to be something that we talk about, because now that I'm in a space of being an investor and whatnot, it's something where I wish I would have done it sooner, but these conversations weren't normalized, for a long time. So those would be my three.
Oh, that's sage, and I'm with you on that. Like things in threes, it's easy to remember, and I think it goes the extra mile to just really leave people with something actionable. And so I stand behind all of that. I fully endorse what you just shared, and again, I'm grateful that you made the time and rearranged like heaven and earth to be here at CAAFP with us for UnDEBTfeated. It truly means so much, for you to lend your stamp of approval to this platform and what we're trying to accomplish of sharing stories just like these to help other people cross over that mountain as well. So I know we're at time, but thank you all so much for joining us. We have had the best experience here at the Conference of African American Finance Professionals 2024 here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is my hometown. Especially proud to be here. Thank you to the American College of Financial Services for making it possible. And again, Dee and your team for making this happen. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.